End up getting this figure from Dan's Dinosaur, and if you'd like to pick one up for yourself, link is down below in the description. And remember, if you order anything from Dan's, tell them Dino Scream sent you. It helps out the channel a great deal, and it's very much appreciated. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at another dinosaur figure that is unsurprisingly bigger than my dog. It's the very, very long boy itself, the Eofauna Diplodocus Carnegii, or Carnegii, I don't know anymore. It always feels like an event when Eofauna releases a new figure. They don't release a lot throughout the year, but when they do, you always know you're getting a highly researched, accurate model. And like I said, I was not prepared for how big this Diplodocus was. You know, retails for $40, and I expected it to be a little bit smaller for that price range. Maybe just, PNSO's inflated prices, made me expect otherwise. But yeah, this is a big figure, and it is beautiful. I love large sauropod figures, and they've been severely lacking the last few years, so I'm really happy that Eofauna delivered us a sizable sauropod figure for our collections. Now, you don't get much inside the packaging. You do get the typical Eofauna collector card with Diplodocus on it and these weird stats, which apparently must be a game you can play with them. Really don't know too much about it. You get the Eofauna logo on the back of the card, and then you get a little pamphlet that's attached to the Diplodocus with some information about the figure. Information: it is one of the most iconic sauropods and renowned for its extremely long tail, one of the longest among dinosaurs that measures around 15.5 meters in length. This is the first time a figure has been created based on a 3D musculoskeletal reconstruction published in a scientific study. So I actually tried looking up the link, to read up on the study before I did this review, and it's paywall locked. So I'll still leave the link down below in the description if anyone wants to pay to read about it. So that is pretty much it for what you get inside the packaging. So let's throw this Diplodocus up on the turntable and take a closer look. And let's start with a nice 360-degree view of the Diplodocus. Yeah, this is not the best turntable candidate figure. That tail is just so ridiculously long. It's barely touching the back of the studio. Like I said, this is a huge long figure, but I think they did a fantastic job on it. The color scheme is kind of bland and boring, but Diplodocus was a very large animal, and it most likely did not have a very vivid color scheme, so the whole figure is just done in this really dark brown with some black molting pattern along the side of the body, and then it transitions to a nice light brown with a nice washover that brings out all this beautiful scale detail and osteoderms along the neck. You have some very, very light gray striping, and the head's so small in here, my camera does not like to focus in on it when it passes by. All those carotene spikes along the back are done in gray and tipped with black paint, so a very natural looking and lifelike color pattern on here. And that tail is just absolutely ridiculous. It's so long. It's longer than the whole length of the rest of the figure. I just love how it has all those nice curves and whip-like look to it. It's just like when it passes by the camera, you can just see that the tail is just all over the place. It just gives a very lifelike feel, like how the neck is turned to the side. And I love the walking gait sculpted on the figure. I always praise Papo for their very lifelike poses on their figures, and I think Eofauna did a great job just giving this figure a lot of life, character, and personality. And now for some measurements. This figure, if you measure it with the tail completely outstretched, is 26.75 inches long. That is a very, very long figure. And at the hips, it's about 4 1/3 inches high. So Diplodocus real life was between 79 and 85 feet long. So with those measurements, I'll put the figure somewhere in the 135 to the 138 scale range. So the figure is marketed as a 140 scale. So I think it will work nicely in those collectors that collect that scale range. And now let's zoom in and take a look at the very, very tiny head on this figure. It's so small, my camera is not the best at zooming in on it. You can see the shape of the head is very Diplodocus-like. Diplodocus is a very well-known sauropod, but there's not many skulls that can be, confidently associated with the skeletal material. So I think they did a good job of capturing that head shape. Let me just zoom out a little bit, see if we can get this a little bit sharper. The eye is painted orange with a black pupil, and at the tip of the mouth, it looks like, let's see, it's gonna be a tough figure to review, especially the head cut. It's so small. It's a tough figure to maneuver around the studio. It looks like they actually gave it like a carotid type beak. I think there was a Camarasaurus specimen that showed that it might have had like keratin-like beak on sauropods. So it's kind of cool that they included that. The inside of the mouth does have a little bit of pink paint for the inside, and then going down to the neck, you have some nice folds and wrinkles and a lot of tiny scales that are sculpted. They're not super sharp. That's one thing with Eofauna. They put out nice, very accurate, budget-friendly figures. The details are a little bit soft, but it's really not that bad for like a $40 figure. It's really not much to complain about on here. Then you just have this row of keratin spikes. I think they were found on I think it was allegedly Catidocus, and then it ended up being like some undescribed like Barosaur species where these spikes were found on, and then Walking in Dinosaur back in the late 90s went crazy with it, and it's kind of like a standard look for sauropods now. You can see those spikes are all done really nicely, light gray paint, all tipped in black paint, and they go all the way down to the very tip of the tail, and then going back to the neck. Oh my god, this figure goes on forever. You do have some light gray striping to break up that brown just a little bit, and then the underside of the neck does have a light brown coat on it, and my caffeine fueled hands are very shaky holding this figure. And then looking at the top of the neck, you have some nice very thick looking neck. It gets thicker as it gets down to the base, and then you have some of these large osteoderms popping up. And then when you get to the main body, it breaks off into all different rows, mixing in with all this really nice fine scale detail. And then when you get to the main body, that light brown transitions into these black molten markings for the side of the body. Some more nice folds and wrinkles going down to the feet. The feet are nicely done, and turn them over. They do have that horseshoe look, and you do have just the one hand claw. Oh my god, my camera absolutely hates this figure. You do have that one inner thumb claw shown, which is accurate. Has a very low hanging gut. You can actually see just the massive animal just being suspended between the front legs and the hind legs. Just how big of a gut this animal needed. It was like basically a fermentation factory just to digest all the plant matter to keep this animal going. And then looking at it from the top, you have a nice wide body cavity. And then going down to the hind legs are really nicely sculpted. Just these three claws are exposed. They are painted in a light gray paint, and looking at them from the underside. Then underneath the belly, you do have some patches of scale detail here and there, some folds and wrinkles. And then going to the back, we always have to do this. Does this dinosaur have a butthole? Really can't make it out. Maybe, I don't know if that's like a mold line or if that's supposed to be the cloaca, but I guess very disappointing butthole. Give me my messy collecte butts. Going down to the tail base, you have some more of that black paint that transitions to this nice striping pattern. It goes all the way down to almost the tip of the tail, then it breaks back off into a spotted pattern. Base of the tail is nice and thick. So yeah, all in all, this is a really great figure. I just love how insanely long the tail is on this thing. So yeah, this thing is beautiful. I do not regret it getting it at all. I know not everyone's gonna like this figure, and that's okay. We all have different tastes. We like what we like, and we like what we don't like. Did that make sense? I don't know. Moving on with comparisons. First up here is the old Untitled Diplodocus. You can see how far we've come since I think this came out in the late 70s, of our understanding of dinosaurs. These two would actually be pretty cool to display on your shelf to show the retro look versus the modern look. And next up for Diplodocus figures, here is Safari's 2017 Diplodocus. I really like this one. It's just, nice simple sauropod figure. The blue was a little bit much. I'd like to see this get repainted in a much more natural color, but still a great Diplodocus figure. If you just outstretch the tail on this figure, it's almost as long as Eofauna's. And lastly, for Diplodocus, you guys all know this one is coming. Here is what a lot of people consider one of the better sauropod figures ever made, the old Carnegii collection Diplodocus, and this figure definitely makes this one feel a little bit small. This one's definitely just a hair longer and definitely much more bulkier. Still a great figure. This thing was absolutely blew my mind when I bought it years ago. When I first saw it in the shop, I'm like, I can't believe they're making dinosaur figures this big. And let's do some Eofauna comparisons. Here is their first release, their Giganotosaurus, and the release after that, their awesome looking Atlasaurus, still one of my favorite sauropod figures. And their last release is their Triceratops. And let's do a few more sauropod figures. Here is GR Toys Dicraeosaurus, and next up is Collecte's Memenchisaurus. And let's get Mr. Memenchi off to the side and bring out, and bring out another Memenchisaurus. Here is Pianesso. And I feel like if Pianesso did a figure about the size of this Diplodocus, it'll probably be like at least $80, maybe $100. So it really shows you the value of Eofaunas. And let's get these comparisons out of the way, because everyone always wants to see a T-Rex figure compared to every other dinosaur figure ever made. Here is Pianesso's T-Rex, and let's do another super predator. Here is Collecte's Spinosaurus. And let's end this with a nice Morrison formation group shot. We have Safari's Allosaurus, and do we have any other Safaris? Yes, they're Camarasaurus and their old Carnegie collection Brachiosaurus and Apatosaurus. We have Pianesso's Stegosaurus and Torosaurus, and then we have Papoceratosaurus and Dino Zoo's Catidocus. So yeah, Morrison formation collection is looking really, really good. You can also, if you don't want to use the Pianesso one, you could also use the Safari. They all, kind of reasonably scale with each other. And if you want to swap out the Safari Apatosaurus, you can also. It's so hard to juggle all these figures at the same time. Give me Mr. Catidocus. Your tail is very, very fragile. I don't want to mess with you too much. You can also throw in the Papo Apatosaurus. So final thoughts on Eofauna's latest entry, the Diplodocus. I really like this figure. I don't have much to complain about. The price is great. $40, you're getting a lot of figure. It's, Eofauna does a ton of research when they do their figures, so you're ended up with a nice, accurate looking model. I can see people not really liking the color scheme on it. Yeah, the details are a little bit soft, but Eofauna is not known for having the sharpest details on this figure. But I think each one of their releases, their figures have gotten better and better. So yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about this figure. I think they did a great job on it. I'm a huge sucker for sauropods. They're my favorite genus of dinosaurs. Apatosaurus is my favorite dinosaur of all time. So I might be a little bit biased toward this figure, but if you get this in hand, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed by it. Now, like I said at the beginning of the review, I ended up getting this figure from Dan's Dinosaur. Retails for $40. Link is down below in the description. And remember, if you orient it from Dan's Dinosaur, tell him Dino Scream sent you. It helps out the channel a great deal, and it's very much appreciated. So that will do it for the review. Still have some more new stuff coming in. Got the Namoparasaurolophus and among some other things. So stay tuned for all those reviews. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.